Alright guys, it's been a while since I promised to have some Napoleonics on the channel. Obviously, working Napoleonics for YouTube, at least for me, is more difficult because the uniforms and the figures and all that stuff is very ornate, and not being a prolific painter makes it difficult to get this stuff done. However, I've recently come across a game that's been around for a while. It's been suggested by a few folks on the channel, as well as, some just good reviews that I've read online. And I've found kind of like the middle ground in order to get some Napoleonics onto the channel finally. So, one of the key things I wanted to look for was to have something that was easy to play, that didn't require a huge mass amount of models to be fielded on the board, and would be easy enough for someone who is new to Napoleonics to kind of get into the flavor of that period of wargaming. Initially, I was going to do Chosen Men. However, after reading through the book, and it's not a bad rule set, it's just not quite what I was looking for in terms of number of models. It seems that you would still have to field quite a few for a skirmish game, and that's basically what I was looking for, a skirmish game. So, by the suggestion of some of the viewers of the channel, I am going to start playing Song of Drums and Shakos. I've read through the book. For the most part, it doesn't seem to be very complicated, and even more importantly, doesn't require me to have a number of models on the table. So what I'm going to do today is kind of go through building a 400 point list for both the British and the French, and then kind of talk about my plans for getting this game onto the channel. So, all right, before I talk about list building for my first game, I do want to talk about a bit of a change that I'm going to run for the game. This game is actually meant to be played in centimeters, and based on the rules here, and because I'm playing with 28mm figures, they suggest a board size of 90 by 90 centimeters, and then using measuring sticks that have 75, 120, and 180 millimeter markers on it. Obviously, I'm not going to make up some measuring sticks, and I'm certainly not going to play in centimeters because that's not what I'm used to. So I basically just kind of rounded up some of the measurements. I'm going to see if I can get this on the screen here. So 90 centimeters is approximately 35 inches. So I'm going to be rounding that up to 36 inches, which brings us to a 36 by 36 inch or 3 by 3 board. 75 millimeters equals 2.95 inches. So I'm going to round that up to 3 inches. 120 is 4.72 inches. So I'm going to round that up to 5. And then the 180 millimeters is actually just a little over 7 inches. So we're going to leave that at 7 inches. So my measurements will be 3, 5, and 7 inches for like movement and range and stuff like that. And then a 3 by 3 board, which I might actually bump up to 4 by 4 since I don't have a 3 by 3 map. I do have a 4 by 4, a number of 4 by 4 maps. So that's one of the changes that I'm going to make for the game in order to play with what I have, and then not use measuring sticks. I'll be using a tape measure to do that. So we're going to go ahead and go on to the list building. All right, list building for a Song of Drums and Shakos requires you to build a 400 point army. So that's what we're going to be doing. You can absolutely play at a larger level or a smaller level, but a standard list build will be 400 points. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can take a look here. You do have a number of options. That's what I like about Song of Drums and Shakos over Chosen Men, is that you have a variety of units that you can use for the game, which actually optimizes the figures that I already own. So the only downside is, because it is a skirmish game, I will have to take some of my figures and put them on round bases, individual bases. Although I believe some of the abilities allow you to do mass or fire volleys for your line troops and stuff like that. This is meant to be single based for each individual figure. Thankfully, I have extras that I can use to do this, and obviously have officers and stuff based singly for other Napoleonics. So in any case, so over here in the first column, you're going to have the type of the unit. You're gonna have the points cost, quality, and all that fun stuff, as well as weapons and special rules. And in the book, all the special rules are laid out in terms of what they mean and what abilities they grant that particular unit. So 400 points just playing around with the loose figures that I have. I'm actually going to field a light infantry officer as my actual officer for one of my squads. It comes out to 82 points. And then we're going to have 3 voltigeurs in this particular squad. So 82 points for the light infantry officer, and then 50 points for each voltigeur. Okay. I'm also going to have a light cavalry officer because I do want to incorporate some mounted units, and that's right here, 84 points. And then I'm going to field 2 chasseurs right here at 39 points each. That actually brings me up to 394 points. And yeah, I mean, that's not going to be too bad of a little army. Again, the less figures I have on the board, the more it'll be easy to learn the game properly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what I have worked up. Now, none of these, or most of these, aren't painted. I'm still working on getting that done. But as soon as both of my armies are painted for this game, then I'm going to be filming. So I'm going to show you what I have on the French side, then we're going to move on to the British army list. All right, so here is my very small French force. It looks like the French are much more expensive than some of the other nations in the game. I have a hussar officer actually right here. In fact, let me just move some of this out of the way and take a closer look. This guy is painted, pretty much complete. So this will be my light cavalry officer. It's a hussar. So usually I would field like a chasseur officer, but this is what I had available painted. And then I actually have 2 chasseurs on one stand. So unfortunately, I don't actually have any loose chasseurs, so I'm going to have to figure out how I can play this stand as 2 individual chasseurs for the game. So that's going to be the chasseur, or the mounted squad, like cavalry squad. Now I actually have a very small infantry squad here. So this is the light infantry officer. This actually comes from the warlord kit for the peninsular box, the earlier box. I like this figure because he's very well detailed with the bicorn. Looks different, and I put him on the base. I'm not going to use him for any stands because I'm actually not playing peninsular at this time. So being a new player to Napoleonics, I'm working off of the Waterloo or the 100 Days campaign stuff. So I had this guy available. And again, this guy's warlord. Actually, the mounted guys are all warlord. So I have 3 voltigeurs here. These are all parries. They have a nice dynamic pose, a little bit more detail than the warlord guys. Again, these will be painted shortly. I like this guy who's firing his musket. And again, beautiful detail. Nice tall palm. This guy's just marching forward. So yeah, that is my French squads, or my French army for the game. We're going to go ahead and go to the British list build, and then I'm going to show you those figures as well. All right, here we are with the British list. It's going to be very similar in terms of the layout, what you can bring in. So in this particular list, I'm going to be taking an infantry officer, unmounted, at 60 points. And then I'm going to take 4 of the Line Center Company riflemen or infantry. Okay. Then, and this is the main reason why I wanted to play a skirmish type game, I'm bringing in rifles. So I'm going to have a rifle NCO at 84 points, and then he's going to have 3 riflemen in support for 47 points each. So yeah, I was excited to start using my rifles, and I figured I needed to pad out my British Army, so I brought in some of the center company as well as a infantry officer for that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what that army looks like, and then we're going to finish up this video. All right, here's my British force. So we'll start with the infantry squad here. This is the officer from the Waterloo 2-player starter for black powder from Warlord. You've seen this figure before. One of the first British that I completed for black powder. And then I have 4 Perry light infantry here in process, as you can see. I did give them the gray pants. I think I should have painted them white, but I think in 1813 they were using the gray pants at that point. And these are just kind of in their standard position. I do like that the Perrys are detailed enough and don't really have, I mean, even their static positions or their static poses are still super interesting to look at. So obviously very well detailed figure. So I'm going to be painting these up shortly. And again, the advantage of having these small little armies is that you don't have to invest a lot to have a force that you can use on the tabletop for this game. All right, so now onto the rifles. This is the NCO. Kind of looks familiar, doesn't he? Looks a little bit like Sharp. If you're familiar with that show, which most of you probably are. A little bit of variation on the uniform. I did give them gray slacks as well. First rifleman. Okay. And then the second rifleman. Right. And then the last one. So these figures, the riflemen, the rifles, are from the War Games Atlantic set. That was one of the first Napoleonic sets I ever bought for the channel. And there's quite a few of them in that set. It's a very good value. You can make different forces, different rifle forces from that box kit because there's so many of them. And yeah, so that is my British force. That force actually, let me look it up real quick, comes out to 389 points. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at both forces together, and then we will finish up the video. All right, there are 2 forces. Obviously the British are a little bit more affordable at points cost. You can see I have more figures here, and that also might be because I chose to have cavalry, which could be a problem for the British force. But again, there's not a lot of figures here. We have, how many figures do we have here? We have 16 figures on the board. And again, these are full 400-point forces for the game. And that would be a standard game for Song of Drums and Shakos. So this should be a very playable game, especially since I'm going to be doing this solo. Be easier for me to keep track of everything. Obviously, these figures are in a state of being painted. The cavalry's done. This officer, the officer and the rifles NCO are done. Most of the rifles are completed, and I'm in process with the center company here, as well as the Voltigeur and French officer. And I should have these done within a week. We'll start filming in a couple of weeks. So hopefully this is something that you guys are looking forward to, because I'm certainly looking forward to finally getting some sort of Napoleonic war game on the channel. And I figure with something easy, something quick and easy to get into Napoleonics would be appreciated on the channel. So anyway, that is it. If you like this video, go ahead and click like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I appreciate it if you would. Click the bell notification icon to get notified of all new hobby vlog coming out of the channel, and click the link in the description below to join our Discord server. That's the best way I can personally interact with you and chit-chat you about Napoleonics and any other game type that we cover on the channel. That's it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more hobby vlog from WarGamingNewb Historical.